Hey guys, welcome to Drones and More. Thank you for being here. I wanted to do a little video around a situation that happened to me recently while I was in France, and that almost cost me my drone. So when you look at videos online of drone footage and all that, rarely do you get information about when things actually go wrong. And this is one thing that I wanted to share with you. And there were several flags there. Clearly, I didn't necessarily listen to my inner voice when I started doing that second video that I almost actually cost me my drone again. And I wanted to go over this again with you so that you wouldn't fall in the same situation. So I'm gonna share the video. I made a separate video about a place in France that's called the Presqu'ile du Bout du Monde, which is a place where I was in last November. And beautiful natural area, sand dunes, and lovely sceneries. And flew my drone around, did the first video, everything was fine. And then I actually wanted to make a second video. And this is where things really went sideways. First of all, as you can tell, this is actually the second part of the video. I took off and it was already pretty dark. The reason why I took off there is because I wanted to make a small video of the storm that was coming in, that was over the horizon here. You see this big rainstorm. And it was pretty impressive. But again, that was the first flag. When you fly your drone, you have to be very mindful of the weather. In that particular case, yes, there was a storm, but the storm was actually heading our way. So that was the first thing that I should have been careful about. The second thing is the darkness of the area. It was getting really dark. Remember that on my controller is fundamentally my phone, right? So it sits on the remote, and you're looking at a screen about that big, right? So when it gets dark like that, it becomes really difficult to really determine where you are and localize yourself, right? Look at yourself on the map. So certainly you have the little map, right? That helps you determine where you are. And this is what actually the scenery looks like from a map standpoint. This is where it was, right? So it is a sand dune area. And I was shooting, so I was basically going over the sand dunes. And what you see further out is this little blue dot, right? Which is the parking space. Well, what happened when I was flying my drone is that I got confused between this blue dot and the blue dot that shows on the map where you are. And that created all sorts of problems because I went towards the blue dot. I was also walking at the same time, right, down that dune here. And just to give you an idea, this is the path that my drone actually took. So I took off. I'm going to do a special video about this application, by the way. It's Air Data. Not sure whether you're using it. It's the next best thing, really. It logs all the information about your flights. You need to have it installed on your phone, obviously. There are some quirks with this. It's not as easy as it used to be. But it's still, you can still configure it. And so that your DJI application would send the flight information to this platform, and you can then visualize the path that you took along with a whole bunch of information about power, sensors, controls, and everything, right? So it's really, it's a great tool. But as you can tell here, I was actually, so I took off, right, on the top here, on the side of the dune. We were walking back towards our vehicle, which was here. But during that shot here, so this is what the video looks like again. So I was going alongside the dune, and at some point I became disoriented. I just couldn't see my drone in the air because it was sitting pretty high. I'm not sure what height we're at right now, but it was actually. Yeah, so it was at about a kilometer out from the home point, right? Now, I was walking along the dune, obviously, so I was fundamentally getting a little bit closer, but I was at about 88-meter height, right? And when you look at this, it gets extremely dark. You can barely see anything. So what I did is I kind of turned around just like I did on the video, and I was looking for something. I was looking for a reference point. So I saw some lights, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm just gonna move in this direction because I have no idea where I am. Unfortunately, the lights started moving, so I couldn't see really. I lost my reference point. I just didn't know where I was, and it was becoming really difficult to even know where I was on the ground, right? So I was piloting the drone, but I couldn't see the drone in the sky. The sky couldn't see me. The drone couldn't see me on the ground. That became a bit of a problematic situation, and so I was lost at that point. So the one thing that you probably want to do is try to lower your altitude, right? Which I started doing, and I was desperate to try to find where I was, because at the same time I was trying to locate myself on the map, right? So I was around here. So at some point I went straight towards the land, and I started looking for a place to land my drone. And I was actually where the car was. Our car was parked right in this area, but since I couldn't see anything, I just couldn't tell really. And at the same time, when I looked at the Google Map space, this is the other thing that really got me lost, is when you look at the map here, you see that little blue dot, right? That I was seeing on my screen, and I thought that was myself. I thought this was me, right? Me and my girlfriend were walking back towards the parking lot, and I was just hovering around, and I was trying to find out where I was, and I couldn't see myself. I couldn't see my drone. So I had a real panic moment here when the battery was going down. And if you look at this screen here, you also get all the notifications, right? So you see your battery is going down. So in this particular flight here, I was at the 4 minute and 20 mark, and I was getting a strong wind warning. So I know the conditions were deteriorating, and so that was flight altitude. But then at some point, so I lost the data connection link. That was another issue. Then you get warning that the lightning environment is too dark. You cannot see anything. You're literally, there's a lot of things that really make you panic, right? And as the video continued, so I'm just gonna move forward here, there's really nothing to see, because at that point, so keep in mind, this is what I see on my phone, right? This is what I see on my screen. I can't see anything. At that point, I'm completely lost. I'm just basically navigating. I think the video is mostly dark for the entire rest here. And yeah, that's it. Like I can't see anything. Like at that point, I'm at the 8.50 minute mark. So let's see, around 8-9 minutes. Strong wind warning again. The battery level is going down fairly quickly, right? So 50-40%. Then I get a disconnection here. Then I get a data connection lost. And then I get to 30%, 20%. And I'm just hoping at that point I dropped the altitude. So when I got to this area, at some point I realized that I'm not where I think I am. So I go back and I actually hover right around the path where we were, right? So we took that path on the dunes to go all the way there alongside. And I go back to this area because I'm like, okay, well, at least if I manage to land near a hard surface, there was water all around. This is a little lake, for instance. There's water that runs there. Then at least I might have a chance to recover it. And what I did is I realized I was not where I was supposed to be. I looked at the map, and the map becomes your best friend at that point, right? So you look at the map on your phone instead of doing a VFR and visual. You can't. You use the map and you try to get closer to where your drone is. So I crossed this entire section of the dune here. There was grass and everything, and I managed to actually get closer to my drone, which luckily was hovering right over this area with very little battery left, and it was at about maybe 5 meters high, right? And I saw it. I'm like, oh my god, it's right here. And it took me a little while to actually cross all of this and get to it. but the video was no help, right? Obviously, there was absolutely nothing here. I couldn't see anything. So some of the things that you have to remember, first of all, that tool here is great. Because when you look at, between the information that's in the subtitles, so that's the SRT file that you can actually extract from the DJI drone video itself. Here I was at 0 meter, right? So I basically had landed fundamentally, but that's when I got very close to the drone and actually I made it land. But I was at about 10 meter altitude, right? So I was right over the ground. 0 meter 40 and then 0. At that point, I was just hoping that I would find it. But from what I remember, I actually came very close to the drone and it was still hovering, and then I just landed it, right? And the video probably kept recording. But this tool really helps you understand what happened, right? So here I aimed at the blue dot, which was the parking lot, but it was not me, right? And then I realized that was not where I physically was, but this blue dot was not the right blue dot. I couldn't quite tell on the phone. Again, that's a lesson learned. Always have a pair of glasses as well if you don't see well. And I started actually making my way towards us. I was hoping to go back here. I didn't have enough battery because I'm pretty certain that on my phone at that time it was showing 0%. So even though the battery here actually did go down significantly, and this will give you all the information, by the way, in terms of the battery cells and the way the battery actually just went down. I was at the end. You can see, right? A 13, 14 minute flight is pretty decent. I was flying in high wind. So you can tell that when you have a big drop of voltage, that's because your drone is really fighting against the wind or trying to remain leveled or going up, or it's drawing a lot more power. But I was getting to the end of my battery life here, and I was becoming increasingly nervous, right? So that tool is going to give you a lot of intelligence to really get a sense of what happened with your drone when you were flying. So very interesting tool. But again, here are some of the lessons that I've learned. So first of all, when you fly, you have to be extremely careful about the weather conditions. In my case, the conditions were getting really bad. The wind was picking up, the rain was becoming heavy, and it was just not a good time to take off. In fact, if I go back to the video and if you look at the very beginning, that's the level of lightness that I had, right? When I took off. And when I took off here, I was actually, I'm not sure whether you can see it, but I was right at the bottom here. I was right in this area, and I was walking on the side, like on the edge, right, on the dune. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna be right there in the open, so I should be able to see myself and find myself. But that didn't work out. One thing that I will probably do in the future is have a flashlight with me, so that in the event that I'm completely lost, at least I can shine a light towards the sky, and with my drone, looking back and looking down, I should be able to see the light, and that would allow me to really get a better sense of where I am, right? That's the other thing. The other thing too that really got me confused was this blue dot. So certainly, lesson learned, be careful not to get confused on the Google Map screen when you navigate your drone or fly your drone using maps, using the map view. You have to make sure that you don't get confused with that. That was my own mistake at the end, but certainly, and I don't believe I had my glasses actually that day. I'm pretty certain I might not have had them, but that's part of the things that also can get you lost, right? And so between this, the weather, and reading your map, and ensure that you don't fly in bad conditions and low light, right? That's really important. Because ultimately here, that's what really almost got me to lose my drone. I got lucky. If you get into a situation like that, which has happened to me another time, and I'll make another video about that one, I was flying over a body of water and I miscalculated the battery life because the temperatures were really cold. It was windy and I had to fight the wind on the way back. and I find myself above the water with literally my battery was at 0%. It was beeping, it was panicking, and my drone at some point actually even landed on its own. And considering it was above the water, it just couldn't land. And I managed to keep going for another 50 meters and get to the shore. But that was very close. So when you get into a situation that you don't see, make sure you get off risky areas. So off body of water, for instance, would be obviously an area you don't want to be flying above. And try to get closer to any kind of reference point where you can still look at your drone in case you have to land or as an emergency landing. So that's one thing to keep in mind. So overall, weather, localization, and the lighting conditions. These are 3 things you need to keep in mind in order to make sure that you don't ultimately lose your drone. So I hope this was helpful. I wanted to take the time to make a quick video about this because ultimately it is, these situations do happen. Sometimes you don't pay attention or you get disoriented or something happens. A technical problem can happen. You can have a problem with your propeller, you can have a problem with your drone, you can have a problem with your battery. So having the right approach, not to panic, and make sure you can retrieve your drone safely is going to be key here, right? That's kind of the next step or next stage in managing an emergency situation. So I hope this is helpful. I wanted to share that with you guys just to show you that it's not all, sparkle and unicorns out there when you fly a drone. You do get into difficult situations at times, but if you're well prepared and if you know what to do, just like to some extent I did here because I still managed to retrieve my drone, you should be able not to lose your drone even if you get into emergencies, right? Don't forget to like and subscribe. There will be more videos coming soon. And leave your comments in the comment section below. Okay, I'll see you soon. Bye.